Have you ever noticed how two people can be put in the exact same situation and just react totally differently? Like one person completely thrives under strict rules while the other feels literally trapped. It's so easy to look at someone who thinks differently than us and just assume, oh, they're just being stubborn. But actually, psychology tells a completely different story. Welcome to our latest explainer. Today we are decoding the psychology of individual differences, and we're going to figure out exactly why our minds are wired so uniquely.
Just think about this for a second. Two kids, raised in the exact same house by the exact same parents, but they grow up to have totally opposite personalities, right? Why does that happen? It's not just one kid deciding out of nowhere to be a rebel. Psychology explains that these differences are shaped by this incredibly complex mashup of genetics, perception, and environment. Basically, two people can look at the exact same thing and process it through completely different internal filters.
Okay, let's dive into this. The science behind all of this is called individual differences psychology. It's basically the study of how our unique mental adaptations are shaped by the world around us. And the biggest takeaway here, which is honestly so validating, is that there is absolutely no single universal normal baseline for a human being. There just isn't. There are only unique adaptations to the world. So you aren't broken, and neither is the person who fundamentally disagrees with you.
To really map this out, we're going to look at 5 key areas today. 1. Reacting to rules. 2. Seeking validation. 3. Processing problems. 4. Relationships versus solitude. And finally, number 5, removing judgment.
Starting with Section 1, Reacting to Rules, Autonomy versus Structure.
So here is a classic contrast for you. On one hand, you've got the person who feels instantly boxed in the second a rule is forced on them, even if they were literally already doing what the rule asked. On the other hand, you have the person who, color codes their sock drawer and needs everything perfectly organized just to feel grounded. They absolutely crave that structure.
Let's look at the autonomy seeker first. To them, rules do not feel like helpful guidance or a safety net. No way! They feel like a direct threat to their core identity and this massive loss of control. So they push back against structure, but not because they just want to be a pain. It's because they're guided really heavily by their own internal standards. They aren't trying to be difficult. Their brains are just hardwired to prioritize independence above all else so they can feel secure. But then on the flip side, we have the structure craver. For them, keeping everything absolutely spotless isn't just about, being disciplined or rigid. That perfect order is actually a vital coping mechanism. It acts like an umbrella, creating stability and blocking out hidden stress when the rest of the world feels completely unpredictable. So both the autonomy seeker and the structure craver, completely natural behaviors, just different mental adaptations to the exact same chaotic world.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, Seeking Validation and Worth, Audience versus Self.
We see this one all the time online. Some people naturally look for external validation, chasing likes and comments to feel seen and connected. But then what about the person who makes a very conscious choice to never post a single picture of themselves online? If you're that person who never posts, it's not because you're inherently antisocial or insecure. Actually, it's because you possess a cognitive trait called an internal locus of evaluation, which is really just a fancy way of saying you judge your worth entirely by your own personal standards. You rely on self-validation, rather than caring about what an audience thinks. People with this trait are fiercely protecting their mental space. They're making this super powerful choice to prioritize peace over performance.
All right, Section 3, Processing Problems in Action. Fixing versus Dreaming.
Have you ever noticed someone who just instantly jumps in to fix absolutely everything the second things go wrong? And then, literally right next to them, is someone who dreams incredibly big but takes zero tangible action to make those dreams happen? It's a huge contrast in how our internal filters dictate our reactions to chaos and how we pursue success. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the psychology of the dreamer. They aren't just being lazy. Get this, their brain actually confuses imagining success with actual progress. It literally releases a massive hit of satisfaction just from thinking about the goal. Plus, they're often paralyzed by this hidden fear of failure. By staying safely tucked away in the planning phase, they keep their perfect dream totally safe from the harsh judgment of the real world. Meanwhile, you have the immediate problem solver. They shift into action instantly, because doing absolutely nothing actually feels physically uncomfortable to them. It's not necessarily that they're braver. It's just that fixing things instantly restores their lost sense of control over the chaos. They're dealing with the exact same world as the dreamer, but they're processing that need for action through a totally different filter.
Moving right along to Section 4, Relationships versus Solitude, Attachment versus Independence.
This is honestly one of the most profound individual differences we see. Some people are absolutely terrified of being alone, so they constantly seek out romantic partnerships just to feel secure. But right next to them is someone who makes the active, conscious choice to stay single long-term. Now, we really need to validate the happy singleton here. People who intentionally choose solitude usually value their independence way more than attachment. They don't rely on a relationship to feel complete, they have built a remarkably high tolerance for being alone, and they actually use pattern recognition from past experiences to protect their energy from misalignment. They aren't missing out, and they definitely aren't avoiding love. They just find deep emotional fulfillment in totally different areas of life, like autonomy, competence, and purpose.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Removing the Judgment. Understanding our adaptations. So, the crucial point is, when we map out all these domains together, whether it's rules, validation, action, or relationships, we see the ultimate takeaway. These opposing traits are really just diverse, totally valid adaptations to the same world. Whether you hate following rules or crave structure, seek external approval or rely on an internal locus, jump into immediate fixing or stay satisfied by dreaming, lean toward attachment or intentional solitude, absolutely none of these make you broken. And that is the most beautiful thing about individual differences psychology. It completely wipes away the judgment from human behavior. Psychology doesn't call you broken. I love this quote because it perfectly sums it all up. Your brain has simply adapted to the world in a way that makes the most sense for you.
So, I want to leave you with this question. How has your unique mind adapted to your world? Take a second today to appreciate your own mental wiring, and hey, maybe extend a little more grace to the people who are wired differently than you. If you love understanding why people think and behave the way they do, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because on this channel, we don't just scroll through people's lives, we decode their minds. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.